All right, since I'm waiting for parts to come in, it looks like next couple of days we'll get some of the parts, but I won't be able to do too much more on the cooler lines until they all pop in here. So we're going to go ahead and start putting the cold air intake back in and the cold pipe back in and getting it mounted up back to where everything's going. I got those wires sort of cleaned up, so that's where we're going to kind of leave it. I am going to go and just go ahead and snug these all 4 bolts on the throttle body back down just to make sure. The torque specs was like 20 pounds or something like that. It wasn't very much. So yeah, we're going to go ahead and get that started. And then I got to figure out what I did with the clamps for the intercooler pipes. All right, so back in a minute. All right, so I got my cold air pipe tightened down here at this 10. I got the clamp tightened down back there. I got the throttle body one side on and tightened down, so now it won't slip off. Next thing I'm going to do is get the orange cold pipe back in and start trying to figure out where it's going to sit. And then I'm going to take my filter off of the extension, and I'm going to just do a short ram this time. Damn, motorcycles and trains. But okay, so that's where we're at. I'm going to hunt down the cold pipe real quick. All right, so I got the cold air pipe back in place. The bolt is loose. I'll tighten it down once I get everything situated. I have to get my O-ring back off of here because I put it there so I wouldn't lose it. Someday I need to figure out what size this actual O-ring is and to order up a couple spares. I cut one a while back when I was messing around with this. I got it on crooked and sliced it, so I'm down to one. So I do need to get another one. I need to probably contact Turbo Smart and ask them what size that actually is. All right, so I'm going to get the blow-off valve back in. That way I can get that pipe plumbed back on, and then I can set this cold pipe real quick. Okay, so the blow-off valve is in place. The tube's back in. This is just finger tight. I still need to hook up this black hose back to where that rubber yellow one's coming out. Swap that, and that will solve that. So I'm either going to have to move this clamp, or that's just where the pipe's going to have to sit. We'll just have to secure it because it rubs any other place. So that's kind of where that's at right now. But at least I can get to this nut easily, or this bolt, and everything else. So yeah, I guess I don't think I'm going to need a longer elbow because now the pipe is back about where it was. So we'll get everything in there and we'll get this secured with one of these new insulated clamps. I'll go around the pipe and then secure it with like one of these brackets. That way it won't move. That'll just be a little nicer. Yeah, this was a 2.5 inch, I think is what these are. But it fits around my cold air intake, so that'll give me a nice, or not cold air intake, but my cold pipe for my air cooler. So that should give me a nice secure fit. Things will stay more stable. And then I just got to plug in that sensor, which is that wire right there. And then I can zip tie that wire along the bottom side of the cold pipe. All right, so we'll get on that next, and then we'll have to figure out what I can do. The fender liner, I think, is supposed to be here sometime after the 3rd, which is like 2 weeks or a week and a half from now. So I won't worry about that too much. If I get to a point where it doesn't look like I'm going to be able to get much more of this done because I'm waiting for parts, I'll go ahead and take the rear seat out and start fishing the new fuel line and put the fuel pump in that I have. I've got the Dishworks 300 fuel pump for this thing, so hopefully that will help a little bit. And then I really want to see about setting this thing up to run on E85 or an E85 mix, so there'll be a few things I need to do once I get the fuel pump and the new line in that I'll have to do to upgrade it. I would like to put a fuel filter up here somewhere, but it'll just depend on how everything lays out, because room is tight. And I still have to figure out where I'm going to set the oil catch can. I know a lot of people put them over on that side. I just don't know. I'll have to see. All right, so back in a bit. All right, so I've been waiting around for parts to come in. I got some parts, but not the parts that I was expecting. So I got some fuel line hose so I can run my oil catch can. But when I had the intake manifold off, nothing had oil built up in it, and I haven't been running a catch can since I got it. But initially my plan was to remove the vacuum line on the bottom of the intake, run the new line straight from the bottom of the intake. But then I remember a conversation I had with the referee here in California about that. So these vacuum lines that come off your intake and stuff and then recirculate through the motor are part of your emissions. Putting a catch can or this line in between those two joints is a modification to your system and is an auto fail at the smog shop. If they pass you and you get pulled over, you can get in trouble, and so can the smog shop that you went to. So I am going to put a barbed in on this hose that is connected to this guy, and that way I can just unplug the hose and plug it right back in, go get my smog and pass. So the thing I have to consider is, where do I want to mount it? A lot of people mount it over here. I'm not sure if that's where I want to mount it, or if I want to mount it somewhere else, like over here. I do have all this space right in here I could mount. I got a couple of threaded holes here I could use. So I did buy, I don't know, what is this? I think it was supposed to be 10 feet. So I have plenty I can use for other projects. But it does have all of the information I would need to make it legal, pretty much, because it's supposed to be a certain type of hose. So I'm going to run that, and I'm going to grab my catch cans. I got about 3 or 4 of them I bought over the time, because I wasn't sure what I'm going to use them for, or where I was going to use them. But we'll get these hooked up here today, and then I'll get back on hooking up these clamps later, after the rest of the parts come, because I'm still waiting for the ends for them A&N fittings for the sandwich plate, so I can get that hooked up. So yeah, I might as well knock this little project out while I'm waiting. All right, so the first thing I just did was disconnect the vent from the top of the front side of the valve cover. Here's the vacuum tube. I'm going to hook this double barbed 3/8 in here, use that clamp, and then I'm going to use a similar clamp on the other side, and we're going to run it out to here. I found a bracket and I've laid it right there. So that's the bracket I'm going to use. That's the catch can I'm going to use, and we're going to see how this all works. I may need to make a new upper bracket, just because those are kind of flimsy. I'm not sure if that's going to work for me, so might make a new one. We'll have to see. I've got some metal here in my bucket, so a little bending, a little grinding, we'll see. But first I'm gonna lay the hoses out and see where we get to, and then we'll go from there. All right, so you can see I put the barbed in. Oops, see if I can get that to focus. All right, you can see the barbed in there, It's on tight. I got a new clamp on it. I'm running the line right here along the valve cover, and it's going to come back over here. I just haven't cut it yet. I want to put the catch can in place before I do that, so I guess I'm going to have to make the bracket before I do too much more. So let me see if I can find enough metal. Alright, just not really motivated today to make the bracket, so I went ahead and cut the one line right there. This is the vacuum side, so this is the out, and I'm going to go ahead and hook up the other one and run it to the same spot, and that will be our in. And then I want to get out here in the morning, or maybe, I don't know, I just feeling really run down here the last couple of days. Wife had a setback. She's got another injury on her hip that we have to address, so kind of takes the steam out of my sails when she's not doing as well as she should be. So I'm trying to work on this and stay focused, just because. So I'm still waiting for parts for the A&N fittings. Those 45s need to come in. I gotta finish figuring out where to mount these brackets at. And so that looks pretty good right here. Everything is pretty much reconnected except for that plug, which I should go ahead and do that before I totally forget. But yeah, so far we're doing pretty good. We're just kind of trudging along. Ooh, I forgot something. How about we reconnect our coolant overflow? There we go. Now that's all back to where it's supposed to be. It's not too tight, so that's good. All right, so I haven't put coolant in it. I still have to put the drain plug back in. It's in the box there. So yeah, I'm gonna cut this other line, and I think I'm just gonna call it a day. And I broke the mic. I dropped my phone, and the USB part that plugs into my phone broke into two pieces and bent the end, and now the mic only has like muted sound. So I guess I gotta send that back and see if I get another replacement. All right, so let me cut this other line and figure out what I'm gonna do. I went ahead and put a clamp on the vacuum side, that way I don't forget and mess it up later, since that's how things would go. So we're gonna go ahead and route this other one and get that set up. And nothing ever is easy. All right, so the one line fits perfectly on the 3/8 barbed end, and my other line, this is, even with the smallest clamp, I can still pull that right off. So we're not gonna get very good suction through that. So I do have some 5/16 fuel line, so that should fit better. And this is actual fuel line as well, so we'll go ahead and run that, and then I guess we'll just have two different types of barbed ends on, or two different kinds of ends on the catch can. That way we don't mess it up. Yeah, well, one step forward, 3 steps backwards. All right, now that's tight. I can't then move it. So that one's good and tight. The other one is nice and tight. It's not going to go anywhere. So we are golden. Just got to cut this line down, and then like I said, tomorrow I'll make the bracket. I got the metal out. I found a chunk of angle iron, so I'll use that, and that should make it nice and stiff so it doesn't vibrate, or because that little flimsy bracket that they put on top is pretty much trash. But yeah, we'll get that in there, and it should just sort of fit right back in here, so it's out of my way, hopefully. But yeah, that's where we're at. Well, that also solves the other problem, so now I don't have to worry about messing that up. So I have the smaller nipple on that side and the larger one on the inside, so that should help. All right, and it does make those fit nice and snug, and with the clamps on there, they ain't going nowhere. This was the type that has the breather. I'm not going to run that breather because it defeats the purpose of this being a catch can. If you're trying to suck vacuum, all you'd be sucking is from outside air, which is not going to help you. So Don't plug that in. I'm not going to put the drain in the bottom. I'm just going to use it as a regular catch can. I'm going to use this bracket as my template so that I can basically, and then I'm going to leave this on there so that the spacer is right. But then I'm just going to make a small notch around that so that I can get probably, may not use this because this is pretty thick, but basically the goal will be to make it so that it covers the two holes, and I'll just grind out wherever that is. I've got another piece of metal that's a little bit thinner than this, and that will be perfect. So that's what I'm going to shoot for. Like I said, tomorrow, besides that, the A&N's fittings will be here tomorrow. So hopefully, fucking train, fuck off. Hopefully I can finish this up in the next 3 or 4 days. Of course, that doesn't mean I won't run into more issues, because once I get this, like I said, I've got the inner fender coming. Once I get the pipe up where I want it, my oil came in today, so I can actually purge this, but nothing's tight underneath, so I'm not going to purge these lines until that's all done. Yeah, I feel like I'm getting close to the end. On a plus note, I sent my final payment in on this, so this car is paid off. Yay me. Now I can call my insurance company and lower my insurance, because right now I have full coverage with the super low deductible, because I hate paying out of pocket for anything. So I can cut back my insurance and still get a pretty decent premium. That'll save me almost $200 a month on insurance. I can't believe they consider this a sports car. It's kind of stupid, especially with my age. My insurance was $200 plus a month for this, and I'm like, it's not a sports car, it's a 4-cylinder. Well, it has a turbo, so apparently that makes it a sports car. All right, so that's gonna finish me up for today. But thanks for watching, and I will try to get a video up tomorrow as well. I was hoping to be a little farther ahead in videos, but I had a rough weekend.